Yours. You know. They could put it.
All right, it is 6 o'clock, call to order, roll call.
Papers, right? And let me see. Mayor Carroll,
Present.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez. Here. Chairman Landers.
Here.
Commissioner McGee.
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Taylor. Councilmember Blevins.
Here.
Commissioner Wilhoit.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you do have a quorum with 7 members present, 1 absent. I'm sorry, 8 members present, 1 absent.
All right. Approval of the agenda. Has everyone looked that over? You satisfied with it?
Make a motion to approve if no changes are been proposed.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes from the planning commission meeting, of the December 19th, 24 meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
All right,
Well, second.
all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? That stands approved also. This time we'll have our constituent comments if we have any.
I don't have anyone signed up. Would anybody like to make comments on any item that is on tonight's agenda? Does not look like it. Okay.
Moving on, old business. A, consideration of recommendation to the city council for approval of a planned unit development, Remington Farms, formerly known as the Swing Estate. Map 79, parcel 47 on a parcel totaling 158 acres. The PUD proposes 315 townhomes on 33.7 acres, 400 single-family detached dwellings on 114.5 and 9.83 acres of commercial zone district. PUD pattern book dated April 4th of 2024. Harold Seagroves is representing James Swing and Don Bobo, the owners. This item has received referrals from 12/28/23 to address TDOT requirements and update the traffic impact study. The Planning Commission has voted to defer this until the January 23rd meeting, Planning Commission meeting to complete traffic impact study. So Thomas?
Okay, and you'll notice I've changed my formatting on my slides, so, as you can see, this is the application that we're speaking about, and I put the meat before the potatoes here. So this was originally from the August 19th, 2024 TDOT meeting, where there were several requirements that the applicant needed to address since that time. And I believe you all received the email from the attorney. We had a meeting at January 16th with TDOT, and TDOT has clarified their position, and now it's up to the applicant to actually address those comments, provide a cost, as well as I believe that they're planning to negotiate with the city on certain aspects of it. The applicant is here, they can speak on their behalf, but I believe that they would desire to defer this for 60 days. I have the city engineer here as well, if you needed any questions on the traffic.
What was TDOT's recommendations?
Will, if you want to speak more on that part of it.
You want to speak on it?
Thank you, Tom. TDOT came back with, process was the applicant was to develop the traffic study and submit to TDOT and the city for review and comment. That has been done, and as Tom mentioned, January 16th was when TDOT basically gave their final formal feedback to the applicant and the city on what they desire to see. And it was multi-pronged, but the bulk of it was the improvements that were required on the highway there, Unionville Highway, that the applicant would be required to put those in, primarily consisting of turn lanes at a number of intersections, including their access point that's being proposed into this new subdivision, and then some form of contributory effort towards improvements that would be necessary or in TDOT's mind, the development impacts the intersection of Colorado and Elm and Unionville Pike.
Okay, any questions for Will on this? All right, Will, thank you. Think now, Tom is, want the applicants?
Would you like to give the opportunity for the?
Yes.
Steve?
Hi, my name is Steve Knox. I'm one of the owners of the development. Basically, since our meeting with TDOT and the city on January 16th, we've gone over everything. Now we need to sit down with the city, review every single category of this, figure out the details, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And then if some of the changes we're going to have to make, we're going to have to change the plan book to include this information in it. So we're asking for time to be able to meet with the city and then sit down and change the plan book to show everything that's going to be done.
Okay,
Mr. Knox, the email we got from the city attorney today said there might be an alternative plan involving county schools. Is that something also in the works? Is that anything you can speak to yet?
We can't really speak to it because they haven't voted on it yet. They deferred it until their March meeting, but we have been having discussions with them about part of the townhome site being a school site.
So if we defer, which we're looking at 60 days, does that give time for the school situation to possibly happen, or?
Probably not, but if they tell us no at that point, we'll have everything else done, ready to go. But if they come back and say, yes, they want to do something, then I gotta have time. Yeah, I'm gonna have time to put their information in the plan book and everything else.
Does it make it any better if we just defer 90 days to allow that?
Yeah, that would help. Yes,
Yeah.
it would definitely help.
I might add that we had thought this would be a slam dunk. You know, here's 24 acres for free. And I've learned that it's not a slam dunk, and I know why. It's because their 10-year plan has something other than an elementary school being done first.
Yeah, Liberty High School. Right.
And so they, they got to know that they can tax-wise fund 2 schools. And we had discussed, and it's a general accepted rule, that there needs to be a deadline on a gift like this. They can't just hold it forever. And so we thought that 15 years was reasonable. But it seems that 20 years would help them, which we will do. But that's why they deferred it. And it was a reason that I wasn't anticipating. And so, yeah, 90 days would make a lot of difference on that as well. But they've got it on their March agenda, and they're going to talk to Mayor Graham between now and then for some advice, some input from him. And then we'll know whether we can or whether we can't.
yeah, good. Okay, so I guess now you're requesting to change it from 60 days to 90 days.
Yeah, based on the recommendation.
Yeah,
I mean, rather than just bouncing it forward, that helps everybody. I mean, if we're going to defer anyways.
okay.
Help you folks too.
We would love to bring it in 60 days, and this won't prevent us from doing it.
No.
Right, but if the
No.
school thing were to happen, then we
We
don't
don't
have
have
to
to come
defer
through
again
this.
60 days.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Make a motion.
We're gonna have a motion in the.
That's what
Okay, sorry.
I'm getting ready to do.
Sorry.
I'll make
I
a
thought
motion.
you were ready to move on.
No.
I'll make that
motion.
motion.
Entertain a motion.
Defer for 90 days.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right. Motion made, properly seconded, roll call.
Well, Ginger was ready, but I was not. Gosh, to defer for 90 days, correct? Okay. If you agree with that, you will say yes when I call your name. Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yeah.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor, not here. Let me write that down here so I don't forget. Commissioner Wilboy.
Yes.
And Commissioner McKee.
Yes.
That
All right.
item will be deferred.
So that's.
All right. B, consideration of major subdivision preliminary plat Celebration Townhomes, total of 9 townhome units in a horizontal property regime located on Sevier Street, identified in Bedford County tax records as tax map 778I, Group B, Partial 8, Zone R3A. Medium high density residential, total acreage of the parcel is 1.1 acres. RCE Group LLC is the owners, SEC representative. Item was deferred from the December Planning Commission meeting for applicant to address outstanding items.
Okay, since that time, the applicant has addressed all the items, 1 through 8. Number 9 is a general comment that we add under the procedural notification. And that typically happens further down the line when by the time the final plat occurs, and that is the recording the stormwater management agreement.
Do these have garages, these townhomes?
No, they do not. I have, so they have the shared parking spaces in the front here. So none of them have garages on that application.
So these meet our standard, but just a general comment. I mean, you got 9 units, 13 parking spaces. If a couple people have a friend over, you got people fighting over parking, so maybe we should be looking at some of those parking standards, yeah.
Yes, at the end, during the staff reporting, I have that as one of the
Okay.
items. Yes.
We just have, I guess we'll have to, in our motion, include that general comment there, or that?
Just one procedural notification, which is to record the stormwater management agreement at final plat.
Motion to approve. I'll second with the one procedural comment.
I have a motion and a second, roll call.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez. Yes. Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Chairman Landers.
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wilhoit.
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving into new business. Consideration of a site plan application, 4,025 square foot automotive repair facility located on Northside Park and Green Lane, identified as Bedford County tax records as tax map 78, parcels 12.11, zone C2, general business. Total acreage of the parcel is 0.65 acres. AKO, let's see, don't know how to pronounce his name, but Scott St. John here is representing it.
Okay, so this was originally in the October Planning Commission cycle, but it was moved ahead based on the applicant addressing the initial comments. So we're seeing it here today. It's a 4,025 square foot development. Based on the staff report, they substantially met all of our requirements. There's 3 procedural comments that are the general comments again, but there's one added, if you'll notice on number 2, Planning Commission reviews design elements for conformance with the design standards, the decisions incorporated into procedural notification. And if I go to my site plan, and what you'll see on the left-hand side is the architectural design guidelines. This is from one of our long-term priorities within our comp plan, which is to either set up a review board for the architectural, or this commission may serve as it. So I started incorporating that into anything that has to do with design review. Going back to the plan itself, it meets all the bulk regulations, parking standards, as well as the standards for landscaping. And going to the elevation. If you need to refer to the design standard, I can go back to that as well, but You'll see north-south elevation and then the west and east elevation. And if you go back to the, well, it's actually kind of hard to read this, but typically the preferred materials are those that are visible from the right of way, which is historically, people put the nice stuff on the front
Okay.
for what's visible.
On the dumpsters part, on the metal panel, does it have to conform to the exterior surfaces, or does it, can it be a metal?
The dumpster also has to match pretty much the design as well.
Okay.
It's not on the main thoroughfare, but that's around the property we're looking at for a new hotel
That's on
and
the
all those
list.
kind of things.
Yes.
Are they gonna have vehicles that'll be long-term there while they're working? Or will it be, you just don't know?
I don't know that part of it, but I'm sure that as far as the maintenance of traffic, that'll be a consideration during construction time period. But yes, in this map, you can see where all the developments are. This one is where this facility is. This one here is, I think that's a CrossFit, is on this site. This is the hotel site, and they're all on the agenda today.
Right. Okay. And we're talking about bringing the traffic from the hotel back out on Green Lane, correct? As well as on North Main, when that develops? Have we gotten that far yet?
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Is there some type of, I guess, a barrier or anything used to, maybe if there was long-term storage to buffer that out? Is there anything in the, I know it's not in a major thoroughfare, but it being car automotive, sometimes they can get a little, I know we have codes to deal with that, but is there anything we can do at the front end to buffer that, maybe fences or something like that? Is that in the design or the plan?
What do you mean by buffering?
Keeping it.
Are you talking about screening?
Yeah, screening it.
Typically, or in our design standards as well as our, you would have screening if they were different uses. And since they're all C2 commercial zoning districts surrounding that, there's no requirement other than, within our design standards, there are requirements for adding landscaping surrounding the parking lot. Typically, you'll have landscaping around the building as well.
Okay. So it's totally surrounded by C2.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved. With their condition of the 3 procedural notifications.
Okay, let's see. There are the procedural notifications.
Okay.
Second.
I have a second. Roll call.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Mower,
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit.
Yeah.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Deal,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez. Abstain.
Okay. Consideration of site plan application, 4,642 square feet of emergency dispatch center located on Industrial Parkway, identified in Bedford County tax records as tax map 78N, Group F, partial 6.01, zone I2, general industrial. Total acreage of the parcel is 1.49 acres. Bedford County Emergency Management, owner Klein Sweeney Associates representing.
All right. So for orienting, this is Bedford Manor here. So it's on the backside of Bedford Manor along Industrial Parkway. This is the same area that the Public Works is located in. They met all of our requirement. There are majority of these, as well as 5 of them, are related to general comments. such as recording the stormwater management agreement, if there's any permits that are required for TDOT access. There were, this is a secured facility according to the applicant, and they're requesting waiving of the landscape requirement, similar to the Justice Center. In this case, they have just an open, empty lot that, has high visibility. And then, Shelbyville Power had, one item, which was the cleanouts for according to Shelbyville sewage system requirements. And then they'll need electrical feed for the backflow device. But these are all items that can be handled during the construction phase. For the design portion of it, this is in the industrial zone. So they're permitted to have metal siding, things like that. And I believe, based on all the other review, it meets all of our bulk regulations, our parking, and then you'll see the secured facility note on the site plan. And the applicant, they were here. They did have one change to the material, and maybe you'll be kind enough to show us where it is.
Yeah, I can. What you see with the vertical lines that we had is metal paneling. It was on mineral wood insulation. We were changing to EPIS because of budget overruns. We're planning on doing a smooth metallic finish EPIS and doing vertical grooves in it from the street. 99.9% of people won't be able to tell the difference between the two once we change it out. So.
There's a lot of flexibility in the industrial district as far as the material for the siding goes.
All the brick that you see in those renderings, all the brick stays. We're not removing any brick. So.
Okay. I have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a second. Roll call.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Councilman Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilmot.
All right. Consideration of a site plan application, 4,000 square foot CrossFit gym located on Lot 6 Northside Drive Park. Identified in Bedford County tax records as tax map 78, partial 12.10, zone C2, general business. Total acreage is partial is 0.46 acres. Trey Stewart owner. Scott St. John is the representative.
Yep, but I see I'm in an error here because that is supposed to be Trey Stewart that owns that property and not Akil Najad. So in essence, the same thing with this one. There were only 3 procedural notification having met all the other standards related to this project. 2 of them, 1 and 3, are both have to do with the construction. They're just general comments on there. And then the planning commission, if you'll review the elevation building design, and as we can see it there, it looks good. So, but as far as the site plan goes, it meets all the requirements for the landscaping, parking, as well as bulk regulations. These are the elevations to the building. See north elevation. There's the east, south, and west elevations. And as I said before, that typically and consistent with our design standards, from the major, from the right of way, what you see, you'll typically see it's more the design elements of it. And then when you get to the rear of it, it might be a different type of material.
Okay.
What's the parking area for that? How many does it have parking? We haven't gotten to that point, have we? Site plan, parking space?
Yes, the minimum parking is 21 for
Okay.
this size building,
Okay.
and that's what
Yeah,
they
they
have.
get,
including the handicap space.
Because we don't need that last condition now that, well, if we do, we don't need to, I guess, do away with, we are approving it, if that's, I'm trying to figure out a way to handle that.
The number 3?
Number 2,
If you,
if we do approve it, then we're,
yeah, you're approving the design features of the elevations.
okay.
I know it takes some getting used to because I just threw it in there today.
It's all good. I'll make the motion to approve. With two or three procedural notifications.
As presented.
As presented.
There you go, 3 procedural notifications.
Second.
Did we get a second? Okay.
All right, motion made and seconded, roll call.
Commissioner Wilhoit,
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Landers.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez. Abstain. Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll.
Yes.
It's approved, thank you.
All right, consideration of the site plan application. 46,610 square foot Hampton Inn Hotel located at 106 Northside Circle. Identified in Bedford County tax records as tax map 78, parcel 12.16, zone C2, general business. Total acreage of the parcel is 1.62 acres. 10-star owner, March Adams and Associates as representative.
Okay, then here's, you see all the development in this corner area, but the whole area mostly is, built out. So this is the Hampton Inn, and one of the things that, actually just made me think about it, and I'll have to confirm, buildings over 20,000 square feet requires the TIS. Is it the building footprint? I think it's in the subregs. It's over 20 because we required, that was one of the comments that I did, actually, it just made me think about it when I was looking at thinking about my comments.
Let me look that up.
But at any rate, there were a number of comments on these. Some of them are minor in scope. Actually, most of them are minor, and they're general, recording the stormwater management agreement. And you'll see that on all site plans as well as subdivision that has a stormwater feature. This one didn't have a photometric plan, but that's a minor item that they can easily correct on it. And typically we request the photometric just to see what the lighting spilling over the property line is. So that's the purpose of that. There was one comment that was not addressed, and that had to be the asphalt patch for the sewer connection, and that had to be the full width. But that can be, that also is you can handle it during the construction phase. And then number 5 is similar. It's just a general comment. And then number 4 is planning commission reviews the design standards. But I'm almost positive this requires a TIS because of the size of the building. But you'll see the number of parking spaces, what they calculated. There's 83 spaces for this building.
How many,
83.
and how many rooms are in the Hampton Inn? About 80? Is that what we're looking at there?
Let's see, I think I asked for that to be put on there, but I believe yes, it's 1 per room. So typically you have one parking space per room, and then the remaining portion of it is for employees as well.
Okay.
So there's sufficient parking, and that was based off of I believe they used the Institute of Traffic, or IT, Institute of Traffic Engineers, for parking generation. But it met all the other requirements for bulk standards, parking, and then as far as the design goes, this is what.
It's good.
This is this is consistent with their corporate design, I believe, and but you'll see from on the elevations what the different types of materials that they're using. They've got EFS in this, as well as some materials like stone or the brick type material.
So 4 stories. Is that what it looks
That's
like?
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, in this zoning district, you're allowed up to 75 feet, and I believe this one was 50 feet.
Okay. Exit and entrances, are they more than one? Or is-
You see this, let's see. Okay, yes. Here's one,
Uh-huh.
and then it looks like they're,
It's just the
yeah.
one.
Just the one. Okay. Are you with are you,
Yes.
Joseph, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
This would be covered by the TIS, I guess, but this particular location, there's no you can't get to a traffic signal from here, so there would, all the gas coming and going from 231, both of those intersections don't have
Right here.
red lights.
Yeah,
Right.
Here.
that was gonna be my concern on that. What, does it require a TIS currently?
Yes, so it'll require TIS. So in your approval, if you can, one of the procedural notifications, and second time we did that. So it's Cade's working on it. But typically, a traffic, study can be handled as far as, as part of procedural notification. That's been done on multiple site plan projects like Cooper Steele's project. That's the most recent one. So if we can add one procedural comment, number 6, requiring traffic study, and we can coordinate with the applicant as far as which intersections to analyze and things like
I
that.
guess we would need approval, I guess, from the staff, I guess, instead of, would they need you to approve that, or does it need to come back before the planning commission?
It doesn't need to come back before the planning commission, because if there's any off-site improvements, we can handle that, amongst staff as well.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve with the attached 6 procedural notification, including the traffic study.
Okay,
Second.
I do have a second. Roll call.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez. Yes. Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodhull.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Consideration of a minor subdivision preliminary plat, Jennings Station Phase 3, located on Jennings Lane, total of 4 residential lots, identified Bedford County tax record as tax map 79E, Group A, partial 1.02, zone R1, low density residential, total acreage of partial 2.49 acres, Gary Boyce Construction owner, North Dakota Surveying is represented.
Okay, so this is the location of it. You can see it's just south of Stardust and just right of Jennings Lane. Right, I think, Mr. Mayor.
That's where I live.
This is this is the actual graveyard. I think there's an access back.
There's one house when you turn off of
Yes.
Union Street on the right, and then the
Yes.
lots, there's a pumping station or something there, and then those 4 lots go between there and the next street up, which is Stardust, I think.
Yes, and there's an access easement.
I think it used to belong to the Church of Christ.
So in, this one has, 4 additional procedural comments as well. The number 4, which has to do with access, they'll just coordinate that with Public Works, but, I've been putting all these general comments on there. But if the planning commission approves this, they'll need to have turnaround space to avoid backing out. And then also adding a note, and they might have added the note on as far as no construction is permitted in stream buffer, but we're planning to make a case more of a consistency within the procedural comments too. It's not noted on there. And then this one doesn't have a stormwater management, but it is just a general comment on there. So you see here is the subdivided parcels. They meet all of our bulk standards, including this last one that has that easement. That's a sewer easement, but it also has that stream buffer. And then, at the end of our, during our staff comments, you'll see that that's one of the items that we wanted to address as far as stream buffers go. I'll show you on that slide. But as far as meeting all the conditions, they met all of our requirements for the subdivision, with the exception of those that are up there.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve with the procedural notifications as listed.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, roll call.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Councilman Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit, abstain. Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez. Yes. That is
Right.
approved.
Consideration of major subdivision preliminary plat, Stonewall Run, Phase 7, located east of Green Lane on Clover Lane, total of 40-plus townhomes and a horizontal property regime, identified in Bedford County tax records as tax map 78, partial 11, R4, high-density residential. Total acreage is 5.97 acres. Black Diamond Construction's owner, North Cut Surveying representative.
So the location of this application is right along here. This is Curl Properties here, and it's abutting it. And this is for 40 townhome units. This property was rezoned to R4 back in 2022. There were a number of items that needed to be addressed in this application. If you'll see just a number of comments, but I think it might just be easier to go straight to the plat itself. This is the concept plan that was reviewed back in May of 2024. You can see when you look at the actual preliminary plat, it's pretty similar. I don't think there's any changes to it. This is the location, Phase 7. This is the preliminary plat, gross density of 86.68, so they're well below that. Some of the comments that came back during the staff review that had not been addressed, although I spoke with Gary Boyce, or David Boyce, not Gary, David Boyce, this afternoon on some of the items, and Scott, he nominated Scott St. John to speak about it if we need to. But some of the items that were missing on this location had to do with the length of the driveway, or in the plat itself, it identifies the driveway width as 10 feet. And one of the concerns was the available parking on there. The applicant had suggested that you've got 2 parking spaces, one in the garage, one on the outside. Will Owen had suggested or recommended possibly widening the driveway to allow for 2. And David suggested that that's what he was going to do, but it's not identified in this plat. Some of the other items that there's no setback on it, so we couldn't tell how many parking spaces were going to be on there. And as you can see, here's a drive that's 10 feet wide with 1 in the garage, but it's insufficient for 2. But I can't tell based on, without actually scaling it. And as far as meeting all the green space requirements, it even identifies, green space doesn't include mail kiosk, which is a peeve of everybody's, including myself. As far as the procedural comment,
I believe that the mailbox kiosk is now a requirement from the federal, from the UPS, from the postal service.
that's correct.
So they would need to include that, correct?
That's correct. Mail kiosks are a requirement for multifamily. And typically what what ends up happening is that it gets calculated as part of the active, or as part of the green space. And so as far as the procedural comments go, there's a couple of them that are just typical for during construction phase, which is recording the stormwater management agreement. Utility layout needs to be discussed, but that can be done during the construction phase as well. One of the missing items is a dimension for the individual building. And last month, we had the Celebration Downs, which was similar case. But I wanted to also bring up that in about a year ago, I want to say about a year and a half ago, 2023, there was an app, Madison Town, was very similar to this one with some of the information that was missing. But that one was approved, and the last one was Celebration Downs was deferred. And I only bring that up just to offer just a little bit more consistency in the decision making. But also I can bring a little bit more history because I hadn't done that in the past. So in this case, the owner indicated that they were going to widen that driveway. The roadway connection, this was one of the engineering comments that was not shown. And it's actually shown in the concept plan, which is this location right here. But in the plat, it's missing off of there. But there's nothing changed about it. So it's really just a drawing error, I would say. So in that case, when we go back to the procedural comments, number 5 is the one that's related to the drive connection. And then, so we have 3 comments that were not addressed. And then one additional one, which is to provide the lot coverage. And so based on this information, if the planning commission could either approve this as with those procedural comments, or if they prefer to defer it, that's also an option.
Are these comments, can that be sufficiently addressed in 30 days?
Sure.
So yeah, I would say that we make a motion to defer.
Well, I also have a question regarding the two drawings that you showed. Was there, the connection was shown on one,
Sure.
but it was not shown on the other?
Yes.
So that right there,
This connection right.
that connection is on somebody else's property. So how does that pertain to us approving or disapproving that connection if there's no, I mean, we're not being, are we going to approve it without that connection? Because we can't make them make that connection unless they have a lease option with the neighbor, or there's.
No, that's not the intent. The
Okay.
intent is just to clarify what that connection is, because you see it here and it's not shown on here.
Yeah, but you see it on one, but who's gonna be responsible for making it? Are we gonna make it a priority to make sure that that connection is there? Or are we not gonna require them to have that? I'm confused.
Sure. The staff comment was that connection absolutely needs to be a part of this approval.
Right.
The applicant has proposed that connection, and we will implement that connection. Well, otherwise, this is not built in the way that I would not recommend it being built in the manner that it's being proposed.
Okay, so we need to make a motion to not approve it until we know for sure that they've acquired that little piece of land, or that they have an agreement with the neighboring property that they can do that together? I mean, how does that work?
No, you can approve the preliminary plat contingent on showing that, not only showing that connection, but requiring that connection. And then when the construction plans come in, if there's no construction plans for that connection, then we won't approve the construction plans and they can't proceed.
Okay.
So I don't think you have to necessarily put a condition on them having to prove that the adjacent property owner is in agreement to it. Although staff has had discussions with that adjacent property owner, they have confirmed that they're in agreement with that, the layout of that connection. It's the same design engineer.
I was told to stop it there.
Yeah, understood. So it has been coordinated between the property owners. I don't anticipate there being any issue, but that connection absolutely needs to be made Otherwise, you've got a really long dead-end cul-de-sac that doesn't have a cul-de-sac for people to turn around, particularly emergency services vehicles. So that's why I would not recommend approving it without that connection or some alternative measure that has not been proposed.
I agree. My main concern was that I noticed that the reason he's only shown it to the property line is because
That's his
legally,
problem.
that's his boundary. So how do we go beyond that boundary to make sure that the development continues their direction?
Yeah, and just so you're aware, all the preliminary plat, construction, as-built and final plat all have to be consistent. So at any phase, definitely at the construction phase, there's the ability of, to actually, not create that condition.
And both parties are in agreement.
Yes, and yeah, both of them, Greg Curl's the owner of that one, and he's in agreement with that as well.
So what you would see when the final plat comes back through is a dedication of right-of-way through that Curl property that would be incorporated into the final plat and that dedication.
Okay, I think both, further in month.
Yeah, I'd like to defer to much, I think they can get that straight, and we can do it without the conditions and being very clear on. That's my opinion. That's my motion.
Okay, I do have a motion to defer, those comments, and since I do have a second, we will roll call vote on the deferral.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit.
Yeah.
Commissioner Moore,
Yeah.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Chairman Landers.
Yes.
That will be deferred for 30 days.
All right, consideration of a major subdivision preliminary plat, Global Manor Phase 6, total of 39 residential lots on Triple Crown Court, Winter Circle, South Winter Circle, and Meadowlands Park Drive, identified in Bedford County tax records as tax map 69, parcel 25.02, zone PUD. Total acreage is 7.28 acres. Global Homes owner John Stefanski is represented.
So the next three applications are all Global Manor. And if you recall, in the October meeting, we saw this PUD amendment that, so all the PUDs or all the preliminary plat applications that you're seeing today. This one is phase 6. It is located on 25.02, and it's 39 single-family lots that are in a PUD. All of these met the requirement for a preliminary plat. General comments again on property or recording the stormwater management, and then also coordinating any type of access. This one, because there is a public right-of-way, it has a dual nexus, the essential nexus and the rough proportionality, and so the dedication of the 50-foot right-of-way that's impacted by the development is it's proper for this project. So here's the concept drawing, and this is the plat, which you'll see there's phase 6. And this is all consistent with that amended pattern book from October, and then it conforms with all of our subdivision as well as our zoning regulations.
I believe all the other phases are either under construction or have been constructed, correct?
Yes. Yes, I think he's ready to do these parts. So we're looking for a approval for this based on the 2 procedural notifications.
I make a motion to approve with the 2 procedural notifications being said.
I'll second.
I have a second. Roll call.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yeah.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit.
All right, consideration of a major subdivision preliminary plat, Global Manor Phase 10. Total of 11 residential lots on Equestrian Way, identified in Bedford County tax records as tax map 69, partial 18.04, zone PUD. Total acreage is 1.68 acres. Global Homes owner John Stefanski representing.
Okay, so the previous application you saw was right here. Now we're looking at the remaining applications have to do with 18.04. This one is similar condition, okay, I changed my mind. This one is a special case and it might be helpful if I go to this map. In order to provide water, the water has to come across number 7. So 7, 9, and 10 are connected on this. Mr. Stavansky is wanting to phase 7, 9, and 10. And so I'll get to the options on that. Let's see. As far as the procedural notification, this has the dual nexus. This one also has they've got to show the water and sewer manholes and fire hydrants and mains, as well as the TDOT access. And I think I didn't put
Are you on
that.
the right one?
You went to 11.
I'm sorry, I went to number 11 there.
Mhm.
It's very similar, but the most important part, and this is where the planning commission has 2 options. One of the options that was proposed by John Freeman was that 7, 9, and 10 be consolidated into a phase. However, there's another option which also satisfies requiring that connection across the 10, which is that during the construction of this phase, all 3, 7, 9, and 10 are consolidated. And so at the construction phase, they cannot be approved independently of each of those phases. And the reason being, in order to get water across all the way to 10. So if that makes sense, I see some.
Where are 7, 8, and 9? Why do we not have that? Are they not ready?
They've already been preliminary plats approved.
So they've been
Yeah.
approved.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's only these outskirts that are needing the approval. Yeah, 7 and 8 are here. They've been approved, but we're looking at this side here. So even at this phase, if you approve the 7, 9, and 10 as individual phases, they would still have to do the construction for 7, 9, and 10 for any of the infrastructure in order to provide that water service there. And I could say this is actually one of the things that's typically done out west is you'll see the infrastructure done first before you do the.
So you give us an option, is that what you got?
Yeah, there's 2 options. This is at the construction phase, we can control this part of it because all 3, 7, 9, and 10, can be, handled at the construction phase, and that would be Will's department there, Will, Buck, and Brian Dickey. But one of the options, that was proposed by John Freeman was to consolidate all of those into one. But I'm sure that the reason why all 3 of those are in phases is because, just the matter of build, as far as, which one's gonna get built out.
What is your recommendation on these methods? I mean,
Personally, if there's a way to enforce it at some point, you can do it at the number 1. Because if the construction phase is not approved, it can't be built.
And 7 and 9 are already approved, right? You're saying.
That's correct.
that's right.
So if we went with option 2, they've got to replat.
That's correct.
Someday.
And it's more cumbersome option. And that's why I put that one first.
10, 11, and 12 have already been approved as well. It's just that he made because of construction problems.
Yeah.
He's made the lots larger so he doesn't have to build the road as far. And so we're having to go back through for 6, 10, 11, and 12 because they're changed from the original preliminary plat that was approved a while back.
Yeah, if you recall from the discussion on the concept, these lots here were all enlarged because of that hill that's back there. Now we know why.
I'll make that motion to approve with the, we'll call it the easier option, just in the construction phase,
Option one.
option one.
Option one, okay.
So 7, 8, excuse me,
Seven.
7, 9, and 10.
Yeah.
Their construction has to come
Has to go
before.
beyond.
Has to be integrated.
But don't need to combine plats.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made second, roll call.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit.
Yes.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill.
Yes.
Approved.
All right. Consideration of major subdivision preliminary plat Global Manor Phase 11. Totaling 22 residential lots on Arlington Park Drive and Meadowland Park Drive. Identified in the Bedford County tax records as tax map 69, parcel 18.04, zone PUD. Total acreage is 3.2 acres. Global Homes owner, John Stefanski, representing.
Right. So same location, 18.04 is the parcel. Similar with, the remaining, or the, two of them is that there's only 3 procedural notification. We do have the dual nexus for the dedication of 50-foot right of way. And then, similar to previous one, just to show the water and sewer layout for the fire mains, which can also be handled at the construction phase. And so all of these are related to the construction comments. This is the location that we're looking at. And here's the phasing map. Let's see, phase 11 between here. Oh, sorry, that was the concept plan, sorry. This is the actual plat, so that is in there. It meets all of our regulations and it conforms to the pattern book. So requesting approval based on those procedural notifications.
Can I ask a question on phasing? It might be a procedural notification. Is there any chance he might build 11 and 12 before he gets to 7? I wouldn't want 11 and 12. They're connected to 6 to be built before 7 because we don't get that second access to Fairfield Pike if he starts working counterclockwise up that right side.
You mean build 11 and 12 first?
Right, yeah. See, they have a connection to 6. We wouldn't want him to put those houses in there without 7 having been built first to get our second connection point to the neighborhood.
Six is, oh, okay, six is actually.
Yeah, 6 is approved. 6 is gonna be built
down there.
next, yeah.
Okay.
But after 6 was built, we don't want him to jump to 12 and then work his way up, because then we're getting a bunch of houses without getting our second required
Yeah,
connection with
right.
that.
I think from a functional, I don't think that's, it doesn't, it may not be feasible to do it that way or efficient to do it that way. So are you suggesting that they,
Can we just do a procedural notification that 7 has to be built before 11 and 12 can be put in? Kind of like we did the 7, 9, and 10.
7, 9, and 10, I mean, yeah, I don't know, I mean, I've never had that question before.
Yeah,
And-
just that neighborhood's getting dense, and right now we've got one access point to our right of way.
Sure.
And if we keep building up counterclockwise that way without putting.
Going
those
back
access
this way,
points,
you're not gonna have the
You
same
get a safety
access.
issue at some.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I understand now.
Yeah, and that may not be the plan, just make sure we cover ourselves.
Sure,
It doesn't
sure.
happen.
So is it, for this procedural notification, or I guess which phase do you want to?
11 and
put
12
the-
would be the issues, because they could be connected to 6, so just
Okay.
add a procedural notification, 11 and 12 can't be constructed until we have our access point
Okay,
set.
okay, I see what you're saying now.
Okay. With that point being made, do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion if you can figure out what I was talking about.
Yes. You just want to make sure that the second access
Well, the
is
second access is in
created
before we start working on that.
prior
part
to,
of it.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because typically there, it would be sequential.
Right.
And in.
But now we're going 7, 9, 10, so I mean, we're jumping all over the place.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Did this have other procedural notifications?
Uh,
Will be adding
yes.
number?
Yes, it'll be adding number 4.
Okay,
That, he made the motion.
I've got a motion from Josh.
Second.
Got a second. Roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Wilhoit?
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner McGee?
Yes.
Chairman Landers?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Gill?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes.
All right. Consideration of a major subdivision preliminary plat, Global Manor, Phase 12. Total of 22 residential lots on Lincoln Boulevard and Meadowland Park Drive, identified in Beaver County tax records at tax map 69, parcel 18.04, zone PUD. Total acreage is 3.44 acres. Local homes owner, John Stefanski, represent.
Okay.
And I will say that Lincoln Boulevard will probably be changed. It was just.
Don't say that yet. Wait till we get through it first.
It's given name.
Sounded pretty good, didn't it?
That was the first thing that came to mind.
Thanks, Lee. So you can see where phase 12 is. It's that location there. This is the concept plan that was approved at the PUD amendment back in October 2024. And this is the location that we're looking at, this little sliver here, which is along Lincoln. Okay, that's right, because didn't you name it?
That's right.
But essentially it had similar procedural notifications that are all maybe handled at the construction phase. This also has, because it's public right of way, has that dual nexus. It's essential nexus and rough proportionality.
Okay.
I'd like to add the same procedural notification to this. I'll go ahead and make the motion with those 4.
All right. That the access would be
built before.
would build.
In phase 7, yeah.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes.
Commissioner Gill?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Landers?
Yes.
Commissioner McGee?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Blevins?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit?
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Consideration of a major subdivision final plat, Lucas Grove Phase 2. Located on Meade Drive, total of 12 residential lots, identified in Federal County tax records as tax map 78K, group A, partial 10, zoned R2. It's medium low density residential. Total acreage is 3.48 acres. Tory May Homes LLC owner, Northcutt Surveying is represented.
Okay, as you can see, it's this larger parcel here that has a cell tower in there. We've got 12 residential units in R2. This is consistent with this preliminary. It's consistent with the preliminary plat. Sorry, this is the final plat. For final plat, I added this at the last hour as far as comments go. On all final plats, we're required to approve the as-bills. So in this one, there was only one comment that was from Shelbyville Power. And there's 2 water lines running shallow drive. And so it just needs to be confirmed whether that has to be deleted or not. This one has the 50-foot right-of-way too, and the dedication. And as you can see, phase 2 is this central section right here. And this is the actual plat. And so we're asking for the approval based on these 4 procedural notification, which 2 of them are construction, related to construction.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion.
Motion approved.
Got a motion and second. Roll call.
Commissioner Moore,
Yeah.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit,
Yes.
Senator Carroll. Oh,
Still
missed out, I'm sorry. Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez. Yes. Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee.
Yes.
That is approved.
All right. Consideration of major subdivision final plat, Cedar Glade Phase 3, located east of North Main Street on Cedar Glade Circle, total of 48 townhomes, in a horizontal property regime, identified Bedford County tax records as tax map 69, parcel 55.09 acres. It's a PUD. Total acreage 10.29 acres. David Alcorn, RHB LLC owner, Scott St. John Engineering is represented.
Okay. So this is just north of Walmart in this larger parcel here. This initially was approved as one entire parcel, and I can show you. This is the preliminary plat from 2022. This is actually an amended plat from the original PUD. And David came to us a couple of months ago, and the issue had to do with just getting materials. So he's requesting phasing of it, which is what you'll see here. It's just phasing this section here, so that these may be sold off, and then the other ones will be constructed. But it had to do with receiving taps. The taps were backlogged, and he wasn't able to get them. So he's trying to just facilitate keeping that forward momentum. But all the final plats require the as-built. This is consistent with all of our policies and regulations. And so with the procedural notifications, there were a couple of them from Shelbyville Power that needs to be done, and that can be handled, at a staff level, which is labeling the correct water lines, and then adding a note on the plat about construction of the cleanouts and tees. The other 2 are just construction phase, or just procedural, make sure that that's done, and then as-built required for final approval.
On this resubmitted plat at the bottom, it says total number of parking spaces 48. That doesn't seem right. Really, we need 48 parking spaces for 48 townhomes. Is that a typo on the plat, or is?
Yeah, no, and that's why there's this overflow parking as well. So this was an older PUD that was approved, and I don't know what the standards were at that time. But that's why this overflow parking was a requirement to be constructed.
So they only get 1 parking space per townhome?
Yes.
Other garages? That look like garages?
No, I don't believe so.
Wow.
And then the overflow parking is all the way on the other side of the complex, so
Yeah.
you're walking a long way to visit.
Yeah, that's part of our. I can't say what the original one looks like. Yeah.
Cool.
We have a few of those older sections.
So wouldn't that be a fight? Say, man, his wife pulls up and they take 2 parking places, and the guy works later comes home, theoretically, he would have had parking lots.
I think that is, oh, you mean,
This is why we need parking regulations in our city.
doesn't show the buildings on there.
Yeah.
Of course, as Tom said, it was great.
Yeah, and that's why there was that overflow that was required on there because of that issue.
The original was approved, but now that they're coming back for us for a new approval, does that put us into a different light because it's not the original plan?
This is only approving the base. So-
But
Well, the problem
Yeah.
looking at this plat, this phase doesn't include that overflow part.
I don't think that 48 number's right.
You think
There's two spots in front of each unit.
So is that just a typo on the plat?
I don't, at no point in time has the town ever had less than 2 parking spaces required for a single residential unit.
Yeah, that just seemed really low.
Yeah. So that may be a typo.
Well, should that be deferred then until they address that or answer that question?
No, I think it can be corrected if it is in compliance with the master development plan of the PUD, so whatever it is what it is. That's what was previously approved, but I'm 99% certain that it's 2 spots per unit.
There are 2 spaces.
Because the unit itself is
Yeah,
20.
if you look at the number of parking spaces there,
Yeah.
it looks like actually there's a lot more than,
But there's still.
so it looks like it might.
They got the wrong number.
I think it's just a typo.
Yeah, because if you
We'll
look
get
at
that
this-
corrected on the plat.
Okay. Yeah, if you look at the number of, parking spaces there, and Scott St. John was saying that there's, the width of it is actually 20 feet,
Which allows you for 2
which allows you 2 spaces.
Yeah.
So it looks like that's just a typo on that. Is this on the,
Yeah, it's kind of down at you may not be able to read on your slide, but it's down at the bottom right is where it actually is on the plan. Do we need to add those procedural notification, you'll just clean it up instead?
I would have.
yeah, oh, yeah, it definitely added it because this is a, final plat.
Yes.
So before recording of it. Let's see. It's,
So would that be 6 procedural notifications?
yes.
Make a motion that we approve 6 procedural notifications and including the one brought up about the parking number being cleared up.
Sir? I have a motion, I have a second. I have a second, roll call.
Mayor Carroll,
Yeah.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yeah.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Wellborn. Thank you.
All right. Consideration of a major subdivision final plat, Idle Acres, Section 1, located on 100 Idle Drive, located a total of 20 residential lots identified in Bedford County tax records as tax map 78, partial 61, R2, which is medium low density zoning. Total acreage 9.66 acres. Idle Drive Investments owner Tyler Stevenson is representative.
So you see, this is Horse Mountain Road, it's on Idle Acres, it's just this front portion that we're looking at. I'll go to this. So this is obviously an older subdivision because you can see where the stormwater, the way that the stormwater is actually, on people's properties in the rear here. It meets all the requirement. It was approved many, I don't, do you know how many years ago it was approved?
Here's a minute.
It's been a while. This is under the old subdivision regulation. I'll just put it that way. So as you can see, there's 20 lots. It meets all the requirements. Still needs to have its as-built documents approved. We have that document. It just hasn't been approved yet. And then, Shelbyville Power requested there's 2 water valves that they need to raise on that. And then the remaining item, number 4, 1 and 4 are, spelled there. Are just, procedures for general procedures for construction.
So lot one, even though it's only got 3,000 usable square feet, that's just because we wouldn't allow that anymore, it just.
No, this was, they've got the vested rights to do that. This one is,
You know,
That's
they're
a
just
unique
gonna sell that and they're not gonna tell the person buying it until it's well into the process.
Oh. Can't require any of the new stuff that really needs to go there.
one good thing, our sub-regs have changed slightly.
Just like,
Make the motion to approve the final plat with the 4 procedural notifications.
there's 5 procedural, I'll second that.
Yep, they're 5.
And I'll think.
You second. No.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Motion made, seconded, roll call.
Commissioner Moore,
Yeah.
Commissioner Wilhoit.
Yeah.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll.
Yes.
All right, that concludes that part of our program here. Administrative approvals.
All right, we had one administrative approval. It was on 542 Shelbyville Mills Road. It's prefab fiber shelter and diesel generator. Property is zoned I2, which is, is being used as, by, what's it name? I think it was Moon Fiber. I don't particularly know all the ins and outs of it, but it's some type of fiber facility with a generator. It meets all of our requirements for administrative approval, and it's consistent with our zoning, ordinance and design standards. But you can see, this is what the facility looks like. It's an I2 zone, so that type of design is permitted. And, there's a little bit of much of a blow up of the facility.
Okay.
And then our favorite, staff report. Did I need to wait for you?
No, go ahead.
Sorry,
Your name
I
is
gotta
staff
jump
report.
ahead there.
Go ahead. We met.
Yes, so we had our growth committee on January 6th. There were a number of other people there, but the members of that committee that was appointed last year was Councilman Christie, I should say vice chair, or vice mayor. And then our planning chair, which is Warren. Kevin Chastain's there because I have him tasked with the R4, which is the high density residential. And then as well as PUD revising those standards. And next week, I think at the end of, probably sometime next week, I will send out what those changes are, but they were recommended by both the vice mayor and the chairman for the planning commission to review it at the next meeting. And then as part of that meeting, so we'll be looking at the PUD R4 standards, There was also some recommendations for improvements of the multifamily guideline. That's in our design guidelines, the multifamily. And then the proposed subdivision regulation that has to do with stream buffers is something that where we have lots that are part of stream buffers. And so you'll see that all these three, green space, critical lot definition, and stream buffer are all environmental amendments that we're going to propose. And then Councilman Blevins, there you go.
Fix the parking.
The parking standards, reviewing those as well. And then at the February meeting, I also wanted to bring up discussions on overlays. I had a thought about, especially
Overlays? Are we specifically talking
Design.
about overlays?
we're talking about overlays in general. We don't have, there's only one overlay, and that's the historic.
Mhm.
And we don't even have a chapter, a subchapter, or any chapter in the zoning ordinance for overlays. So I'll be bringing up those as well.
So most of those procedural notifications tonight will disappear after we approve that. All the stream stuff that you had on all those.
Yes, and that was, well, I got a call from T-Dec about Tory May's project, the Lucas Grove, because they were questioning some of the lots that included the stream buffers. But one of the things that we have to be considerate of too is that when you take or have a lot that has a stream buffer, but take the stream buffer, or you're not permitted to have the stream buffer in there, then basically you're reducing the amount of developable area. So there's that balance. So one of the things that we were thinking about with that is that if you take the lot out of the green space, then that green space can be, or that stream buffer can be counted towards green space. And it'll just become a passive open space. And that's another problem that we have within our code is that there's no definition for active open space, passive open space, the different types of open spaces. There's no definition in there. We just have this section that says green space, you're supposed to allow a certain amount. But in the PUD amendments and who was it Councilwoman Noel that brought up the PUD that was in, that there's some areas that are requiring more.
Yeah, there was the big new one in the building in Nolensville, they're actually requires 30% green space in all posts, so, yeah.
Yeah, which is
And
good.
not to get in, but I thought we previously had talked about, I know earlier we talked about the mailbox kiosk being part of the green space, but I thought that we had previously talked about the fact that the requirements of those types of items, like the kiosk and whatnot, would not be part of the required green space, because that's part of the required development, which should be which should be totally separate than the.
Yeah, that shouldn't be counted as, and that's a comment that we repeat a lot to the developers, not to include the kiosk in the open space in any way. They shouldn't be included in there. So.
As we discussed the
Plan to define
overlays.
green space.
Yes.
When?
In the next, in this, all these, in number 3, all of these items are gonna cover that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll cover that. And then when I speak about the overlays, I'll show you what I'm, looking at as far as, buffering, or I should say, creating a cluster overlay, which allows a little bit greater density, but also allows green spaces in the R1, R2 zones. Because we don't have that right now.
Okay.
Traditionally, overlays in my field, the overlays are also incorporated into design overlays.
Yes.
So that way you don't have a generic design standard that's straight across the board citywide. You have some more stringent in certain areas and less stringent in other areas.
Yes.
And then, your main corridors like Main Street and Madison being something more visually appealing, and then
Yes.
as you step back into the cider roads, you don't have the overlays, so then
Yes.
so you start with your basic standard, design standards, and then you kind of step it up for each overlay, and not each overlay has to have the same design standards, but
Yeah.
thinking about, a commercial corridor along the 437 bypass versus Madison Street that everybody.
Yes, and well, and you also have neighborhood conservation overlays.
Right.
And, because one of the, discussions, I think, at the council meeting level, there's a concern about some of these older neighborhoods, they are historic neighborhoods. And what's happening is that there's, those lots are being purchased and combined and then creating a little bit greater density, that might not be consistent with the overall. And I think what might help out in those is a lot greater buffering of tree spaces. Because right now in our subdivision regulations, it has a general note that says that you have to preserve mature trees. But there's no requirement to map any of those locations. Typically, the only time that I ask anybody to highlight the mature trees is if they're trying to meet a design standard and there are existing trees that buffer or that screen the borders of the lots. And, and so then they show it. And I
No
get
definition of mature trees either. There's probably no definition. of
Oh,
mature
no,
trees.
you're right. And that was one thing that, Ginger and I, we had a long conversation, the other day, and, I can't remember who, it was a long Monday.
I believe there is a way to designate mature trees to be a horticulturist can do that.
Yeah,
I would like to also bring up our design standards in general, because we have them very vaguely written,
yes,
and that leaves a lot of interpretation
yes,
for designers.
yes,
And I'm just gonna point out one specifically,
yes,
I'm gonna be having a
yes,
problem with, is our design standards state that metal panel is discouraged. Does
yes,
not say we can or can't use it. Doesn't say yay or nay, doesn't give us a percentage, doesn't give us say, okay, the front of the building can have 25%. And metal panel itself is very, very generic.
yes,
So there are architectural metal panels, and then there are metal panels that are, the expanse corrugated ugliness. But for us to completely disregard metal panel as a design element, I think we're doing us a disservice. And just to take, for example, if any of y'all have taken a ride between here and Murfreesboro, there's a beautiful new development on the right-hand side, just before you get to Veterans Parkway, or right around Veterans Parkway where it has the new Cava. And when you drive by there, there's a lot of metal panel incorporated into that building. I would have to say at least 50% of that building is metal panel, but you can't tell because the architectural metal panel is used appropriately in design elements that make it worthwhile.
yeah,
So I think we need to clarify that, so that way, because now that we are starting to put elevations in front of the panel to say, does it meet our design standards or doesn't, if I can't read it as a designer and clarify where the yay and nay is, the layman is not going to be able to say yay or nay, and then there's going to get a lot of nays because they're going to say, oh, this is metal panel,
yes.
when it's really maybe aluminum composite material or an architectural metal panel that, doesn't.
Yeah. And I agree with you, because, a case in point is like, you'll see a lot of firehouses that uses prefab metal buildings coupled with, maybe brick or things like that, and it actually looks great, but under our design standard, a lot of our code, was, I think intended for middle buildings. And as now that we're seeing more and more growth, I think that a lot of people are more aware. That certainly, that we need to manage the
Because,
growth.
although we say brick is encouraged, brick can be faux brick, it can be thin brick, it could be
Yes.
true full stacked brick, it could be
Yes.
a metal panel that looks like brick. So the fact that they're generic and we're basing a decision on looking at a preliminary design on the front end of planning. and then
And-
say yea or nay to a finding.
Yeah, and it's something that we bumped into something else too within our planning commission bylaws, and they were written very strictly. And it was intended to handle something that happened in the past, which is typically what happens. And our design standards are the same way, maybe we were seeing some of the barn type, the more economical types of metal. And, so there was a reaction to that, and now maybe we need to adjust it in the.
I just wanted to bring it to the.
Okay, well, when Thomas does send all this out, I hope y'all will take time to read it, look at it, study it. That way you'll kind of know, if you got some questions, make notations, ask questions with it. But, we spend a lot of time on this, so
Yes.
hopefully it's something that'll be beneficial.
Yes, and what I'll do is I'll put it in a chart that shows side by side, and then put the purpose of it, so that, you can understand where we're coming from and then add to it.
Okay, Thomas, I appreciate it. We got out of here in an hour and a half, so that's not bad, but we gonna stand adjourned.
Well, I noticed I need to change my slides just a little bit more, and maybe put the,
Next week.
my comments, my second, list, so to it.
Yeah.
Well,